Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Tony, and if you're one of my followers, you know that we are just over halfway on this amazing build, this huge scale 1:6 scale Armortek Jagdpanther G2, this monster of a tank, and I'm loving every single minute of it. I'm just so pleased with the quality of this kit, and I know I've said it many times, but I really am. And it's probably my favourite one so far. I'll probably say that about all of my tanks, but this one so far is definitely my favourite. And then to recap, what we did in the last session was we put the pannier floor panels in. I got those. I painted the underside of that just to make life easy for me for later on. And so they were installed, and then we started putting some of the what I would consider critical parts of the option packs which have arrived. So we put the battery tray in, I put the base part of the smoker units in, and I also put the servo mounting bracket and tested the machine gun because at this stage I think it's the easiest way to do it, because you've got the side panels are not on, you've got full access to the hull, and I think the more you progress with the build, the more challenging it's going to be to get in and do those critical parts. With the same rationale applied in today's session, I'm going to be doing the motors, and I'm really looking forward to doing this. It's a completely different drive system that Armortek have developed. I haven't done one of these yet, so I'm looking forward to learning on the job, so to speak. And I really hope you're going to enjoy this session. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you enjoy it as well. So in a minute, I will reposition the camera as I normally do. I'll get everything out of the bags. We'll have a good look at what's inside the box and the bags, and then we'll have a plan together of how we start this critical stage. So let's do that and we'll get cracking. So we've got some beautifully illustrated instructions as always, and there's looks like there's 4 or 5 pages to follow on that. The rest of this is to do with the slew and the recoil system, so not interested in that today. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little bit anxious, but let's see how we get on. Let's just move that out of the way. First things first, this is the main motors there, I'll just move them. Let's look at what's in this bag. So this is a big heavy bag of kit, and I'm hoping everything we're going to need the first sort of 5 stages of this is in this bag. So what we've got, that looks like the belts themselves. Look at that. These little gears, drive gears with the bearings already installed on them. We looked at those briefly when I unboxed it. We'll have a well, let's get them out. Might as well get them out. I just can't get over how lovely these are. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at the machining on that. Just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Pre-assembled, and we'll leave those there. Oh, they're heavy. Looks like we've got 2 main pulleys, obviously, which the belts drive around, and I think it's like a taper lock in each one of those, so we'll have a look at those in a sec. A couple of other gearing mechanisms, again that looks like for the belt to go on. Ooh, heavy old plates. These are these plates here shown in the instructions. There's some weight to those, I tell you. Absolutely beautiful, and pre-painted. Let's just get these out. And they've even gone to the trouble of, look at that, getting them painted for you so they're not going to oxidize. There's some lovely weight to those. Wow. Cool, there's some lovely weight to that. A couple more plates. Motor bracket quantity 2, we'll just leave those there. Some tensioning brackets. These spacers. Fixings and fasteners, and then you've got a tensioning shaft pre-assembled, 2 of those, beautiful little shafts. So that's all the bits that we're going to need there. Pop that out of the way. I don't know, there's another bag there, I'm not sure if that's part of it, but we'll see. And then we've got the motors, of course, which are heavy and look fairly complex. Oh, look at that. Whoops. Let's pop them up like that. Don't roll off. All pre-wired and all just feeling like super quality. Don't think there's anything else in that box. Pop that over there. Not sure at what point we install these, but we're going to concentrate on the front part here, the mounting brackets to start with, and then we'll come back and worry about these motors. So I am now going to start getting my head around these instructions. You can see there's the plate there, and there's some parts to go on. So let's get all the parts we're going to need, and let's get started. So we're going to start with the left-hand side, what's known as the tensioning, the belt tensioning setup. Now, looking at the instructions, this would be the right. When I say the right one, this would be the correct one for the left-hand side, with the countersunk holes facing upwards if you're having it if you're laying it straight on your bench, and then the actual tensioner part itself, the countersunk hole will be on the back side if you've got it faced up on your bench. And I'm just checking the orientation of that on the instructions, and that would be correct. So that's as per the instructions. Right, so that's that, and then we've got this little setup here, these little bearings, and it asks us to Loctite the inside face of the bearing onto the shaft of this piece here. So let's just remove this fastener there, and then we've got this nylon nut on the end with a washer, and then we've got this shaft here which we need to apply some glue to, some of the Loctite, and then that pushes down onto that, and I assume we then tighten everything up using this nylon washer. So let's get the Loctite onto that using the Loctite 638. Now, this does take a bit longer to go off, but once it goes off, it's pretty good stuff. So slide that bearing over the shaft, the first one. Just wipe that excess off. Don't do that at home, your wife will kill you. But there you go, that's that. Just going to put a little bit more. Let's get that, slide that on. Washer back on. Nylon nut. That's as far as it's going to go for now. But I'm going to be keen. So now, what is this? Where does this go? This goes on this. So we have this countersunk fixing, which is there. I'm actually going to use some thread locker on that. Tighten that up. That is correct. Goes in from the back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to tighten that, to wind that nylon nut down. If we get the right socket would be helpful, wouldn't it? Just wind that on. They're spinning beautifully. So that's that. And that gets fixed to that with these two 16mm M4 cap fixings. One goes through that hole there, one goes through the arc. That'll be positioned like so. Hold that. No need for thread lock on these because they're nylon nuts. And it says tighten, but do keep them fairly loose for now. That's what it says. So I'm going to, I will tighten them up a little bit, but not too tight. So far so good. that's not famous last words. I think that's the kind of looseness you're going to want, I think. Shame, because that fixing actually hits the back of that paint. Make sure that's in there tight. Yep, it is. So that is it. That's the first part of it. And it's just not completely happy with the way that knocks the back of that fixing there, clashes with that plate, but I wonder if it's, don't know, we'll see. I'm sure it'll work itself out. So that's that side. Go on now and do the right hand side, pretty much the mirror opposite. So we'll do exactly the same thing with that. Just take that fixing out, that nut off. Washer, get the bearings off, apply some of the 638 to it. Get that one first and just slide that on. Slide that one on. Washer, nylon nut. This will then go through there, bit of thread locker on that, and then wind that. Wind that in. Put the bigger socket on that, I think, is it? Yep. And just tighten that, wind that in. Bearings are moving beautifully, as they should. So that's that. Obviously we're going to make sure that we're opposite here, so that will be going, I'm guessing that's right. That's the mirror opposite. So the fixed hole there and the arc there. Just get the right. Should have got these out before, sorry. They've got to be in here. Very rare to be shortchanged by Armortek on fixings. So it's in here somewhere. There you go, got it. 2 16mm. Then we just need the corresponding nylon nuts. Fairly obvious which ones there are which. So pass that through. That's a bit tight. That's probably because the paint. I'm just going to wind that through then. That's fine. Pop that into that hole, through the arch, to the hole at the back, push that through, and then same deal, just wind the nuts on. Keeping them fairly loose, but I'm going to wind them in so that it's not wobbly, if that's the technical term for it. Again, I'm not tightening them up, and we'll keep them loose as instructed. That's a lot better, that one. Seems to be fitting in there. That's definitely flush. Whereas that one is slightly proud. And I wonder if it's the paint. Might be the paint. It's just pushing it out slightly. Just want to make sure there's no wobble on that. There is, but that's down to that. So I'm thinking I might just use my bench sander just to flatten that off, so I get the same kind of, get the same deal this side. That's a lot better than that, because that's actually sitting flush where this one isn't. But anyway, we'll worry about that a little bit later. So that's them both done, left and right. On to the next stage. Right, so the next step. I've just unpacked one of these pulleys and massive big old taper lock here. No instructions on here about how to install the taper lock, so I'm going to assume it's the same as the sprocket. We're not going to do this just yet, but typically, and I'm going to just turn this upside down. I'm not sure you can pick that up in the camera, but there's a threaded side both sides here and a non-threaded side on the pulley itself. On the taper lock itself, there's a non-threaded side both sides and then a threaded side on the top here. So really, it's exactly the same as the sprocket. So what we'll do is, when we won't be doing it just yet, but you effectively put the non-threaded part of the taper lock in the threaded, lined up with the threaded other half of the hole, both sides, and then you've got the threaded part of the taper lock with the non-threaded part of the pulley. Hope that makes sense. Now this is when you, in time, if you ever have to release the taper lock, you wind one of these massive big grub screws out, and then you wind that into that, and then that just pops. You undo the both sides and you wind that in, and that just pops the taper lock out. So that's that. This will be presented so that the collar here on this side will be against the plate, if you like, here, or the whole side. So that's that. Then we've got this beautifully machined gear, and it asks us to Loctite the outer face of the bearings inside the drive mount itself, which I can't show you just now, but I will reposition the camera and show you how we do that. And then we have these little keys, and what we've got to do is just make sure that these fit inside. And I've got a really nice pair of nylon pliers just to make sure I can press that in, because what's going to happen is that that's going to be inside the drive mount, and then this will locate. There's a slot. I don't know if you can see that. Hang on, I'll tell you what. Pull that out. There's a little slot in the taper lock just there, and that taper lock is what, this key is what locks that taper lock into position like that. It seems a bit tight, but I think it will go. I don't want to force it. We'll do that once it's on the main drive itself. I wonder if that just needs a bit more encouragement. Don't want to damage any of this, that's why I'm using the nylon sort of adjustable pliers. So let's just see if that goes in a little bit easier. Oh yeah, that will go in now. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do, let's do the same for that side. Just put the key in this one. Just make sure that fits. Oh, that's snug. Again. Just give that a good old squeeze without damaging the shaft. Just see if that fits. Yeah, that will go. Be a little bit tight. So that's that. So now what I'm going to do is I will set the camera up so you can see where these go on the inside of the hull. Right, so this beautifully engineered main drive gear slides inside this drive mount here and just connects up, and you probably can't see that side, but if I put the other one in the other side, you should see the sprocket start to turn. Just gently put that in and it will slide in and mesh in with the gears. So if you just look down here, you can see the sprocket spinning. So that's that. First things first, we need to get some Loctite on these bearings, because it does ask us to Just checking. Yes, it does. So I'll get the old 638. Don't go crazy with this stuff. Just a light, very thin line. As I said, this thing takes a while to go off, this glue. So I want to get these in. Hopefully, yeah, the glue is spread nicely. So that's that one. Do exactly the same on here. Make sure we've got glue all round. That'll do. And then that will go and slide into position there. Just make sure the glue is, I'm just pushing that in and out just to spread the glue along the shaft. I'm going to leave that for a little while because this glue does take a while to go off. We'll leave that for a little while and then we'll go and put the pulleys on. Actually, while we're waiting for that glue to go off, we can put these main mounts on. A little bit reticent to put thread locker on these. I think temptation is to do it. Just always worry about in case there is a problem, do I need to get them off? But I don't think that's going to be an issue. Yeah, I'm going to commit. So a little bit of thread locker, and you get 4 of these. These are big M5 16mm countersunk fixings. Obviously we've got the countersunk face here. Push that through. Just going to put the top one in to start with. Slide that over. Classic. Try and locate that into the hole. Come on. There you go. Keep that nice and loose. I'm just winding it in by hand. Get another fixing. I'll go diagonally opposite to that. Find the hole. There we go. Again, this just goes back to what I've been saying. Imagine trying to do this with all the hull built on. I mean, I guess it's doable. I mean, as I said, I mean, Armortek do design these kits to allow you to do that, but I can just imagine it being a real pain. Just trying to get into these crevices. And then one more to go in after this, and then we can go and tighten them up. What I'll do as well, again, while we're waiting for that glue to go off, we'll, once I've got this in, it's exactly the same process for the opposite side. I'll do that away from camera, and then I'll come back and we'll get the camera back on the bench, and we can just set the taper lock up ready to go on. So, just going to get these now, wind these into place. Go around and tighten them sequentially. Go opposite first, diagonally opposite. I'm not going tight just yet. Just getting it pretty much locked into position. Everything is beautifully set out by Armortek. Now we can go around and tighten up. Nothing's clashing in here. It's not touching the torsion bar system or anything like that. Plenty of clearance. Oh, nice and tight. And brilliant. Right, so I'm going to do exactly the same on the opposite side, and then I'll come back to camera. Okay, so again, while we're still waiting for that retaining glue to go off, we might as well set up the two taper locks. So as before, as I said, this part here with the collar on it, hopefully you can pick that up on the camera, this goes on the whole side, so against the whole wall, as opposed to out there like that. So that's quite important. And I'm going to set these up so that the non-threaded part is facing away from me but nearer to you, and the two threaded parts are left and right. So the first thing I'm going to do is line up this taper lock so that the non-threaded parts, left and right on here, line up and make up the full circle. And likewise we do exactly the same thing, threaded part against the non-threaded part here. And that's, just need a bit of adjustment on that. Then we have these huge big grub screws. Now again, there's no instructions on this, but typically when you do these on the sprocket, for instance, it asks you just to lightly oil the grub screw. So I'm just going to do that. Just going to spin that around in my finger, and then just position it roughly. Try and get it a couple of turns on it. I'm sure that will come good. It's a bit stiff, but again, you kind of want that. Do the same on this side. Just enough oil on my fingers, pretty much. There we go. There is enough oil on my hand, my fingers. Okay, so that's gone in nice there, but these are a little bit tight. Okay, that's all right. Just winding them in by hand. And it does tell you to keep it loose. It says leave the taper lock loose on the drive shaft for now. You'll need to adjust the position of the pulley when fitting the belt. So that means obviously it'll this way, you know, in and out like that, I guess. So I'm just going to wind these in a little bit more, just so they don't fall out. Whatever you do turn-wise on one side, you make sure you do exactly the same on the other side. So if you do two turns, you do 2 turns on this side, so they go in, they gradually go in together. You want it sitting absolutely plumb. So I think that's enough for that. So again, I'm going to wait for the glue to go off. It just seems like an eternity for that glue to go off, and then once the glue's gone off, we can then put these on, and then the next thing will be to set up the alignment on the pulleys and install the main motor, by the looks of it, these spacers and what have you. So we'll set those to one side for a minute, and we'll wait till the glue goes off, and then we'll get on to the next step. So I've left the glue go off overnight just to be on the safe side, and I think that's in there nice and firm now. So I think the first job I'm going to do is to position this this pulley wheel. I've just unwound the large grub screws for now to make this quite really loose. Got to try and line up this key on here with the taper lock. I think that's in. It's obviously all very loose at the moment. That's that. And I'm gonna just get the belt round at this stage. Obviously it needs to just make sure that's meshing. We mustn't forget that the belt's got to go on, otherwise you put the motor on and you won't be able to get the belt on. So that's as far as I'm going to go with that at this stage. Just making sure that key is in, and it is. We'll do the same this side. Just wind that round. That'll do for now. I'm not going to tighten any of this up until we've got the motors in. Just get that belt on. Again, I'm just putting the belt on because I don't want to forget about the belt. That's it. That's all a bit loose and a bit wobbly, but that's what it's got to be like until we've got the alignment right. So the only way we're going to get the alignment right is when we've got the motors installed. So that's that for now. Now I'm going to go back to the my bench and show you the next step. So this is when sequencing comes into play and trying to work out the best way to do this. So let me just show you on the instructions. So this is the plate that we've already installed into the hull as per the instructions. Then we have these 3 spacers that throw this plate off. It sits in front, probably around about, well, the distance of that spacer there. So that's just over an inch, say. So that would go like that. And that means between, if we use this as an example, so between the main plate and this, you've got about an inch. But then you've got 4 countersunk holes here, which you bolt into the main motor. So you're not going to get enough space to get your fixings in and a tool round to tighten it up. So I'm looking at thinking, right, I'm thinking I'm going to put this plate onto the motor first. Then I'm going to put the spacers onto the tank itself, the other plate, and then I'll be able to then go through and fix or screw into these. I think that's the right way to do it. So now I've got to think, right, so looking at the instructions to show you, you have a single spacer down towards the front of the tank, the business end of the tank, and then you've got the double one towards the back. So I want to make sure, let's just take this motor out of its protective packaging. We've got 4 holes on there, and I want to make sure, so this, I don't think it really matters at this stage left or right, but let's say I choose that this is the left one. I want this lead here to travel towards the back of the tank. So that means this plate, when I put this plate on, needs to have the 2 spacers at the back, pointing towards the back. So let's just do that now. I'm going to line those up. Try and line the holes up. That's perfect. You've got sort of 8mm countersunk fixings. Don't use thread lock on these. Don't think you need to. The right tool. Just move that out of the way so you can see. Don't tighten it up too much, just keep it nice and loose. Again, I'm going diagonally opposite. I hope this makes sense. I hope I'm doing it the right way. Also, my batteries have arrived. I've just got them on charge. So if all goes well and I get this in with no issues, and in today's session, if I get time, I'll get some power to these and we'll test them. But I'm going to put them in. I'll put them in first so we can tighten that up now. So I've already got a radio. I've got the radio gear from my other models. So I'm just going to temporarily use one of the receivers and the radio gear from my other models just to test this. That's the plan anyway. So that's that. So now I should be able to go to the tank, get these bolted in from the back, or sorry, they'll go that way. So this part will go through to the main plate and I can then wind a nut on. So let me do that and then we'll come back and get these installed. So I'll just reposition the camera again and we'll take it from there. Okay, so we've got the 3 spacers here. Got my nylon nuts. First one I'm going to do is it's this one at the back. I think that's going to be the trickiest one. I've got my nylon nut loaded up on my forceps. Pop that through there so I can just about see. Hopefully I'm not getting it. I'm trying not to get in the way, sorry. and then just wind that in. That's getting in the way, that. Or track tensioner. Just use this, the nylon. Want that in as tight as possible. I don't want to damage it. That's it, nice and tight. Release the old forceps, brilliant tools these really. And we'll go again. I think I'm going to do the bottom one first. Really hope I'm not blocking the view. Looks like I am. Tricky though, really tricky. I'm not clever enough with the camera to be able to do this. So you get in tight and close. So again, I'm just going to hold the nut into position. Just wind that on until we get some resistance. Oh, that is tight. So just use that. Again, I like using these nylon pliers because it doesn't, you get really good grip with them and it doesn't damage any of the metal surface. You don't get any gnarling on it if you're using like a mole grip or something like that, or a normal wrench. That's that. And then the last one, just load that up onto the old forceps. You could use a little spanner for this, of course, but you don't get the grip as you would do on these forceps. That one went in really nice and easy. Okay, we'll do that. So that's the 3 spacers that side. I'll do the other ones. I'll come around this side. I really hope you can see what I'm doing. Right, let's go this one at the back first. As it bites on that nylon nut, so obviously it's tougher. That tension is right in the way. That's it, that's got it. Again, go do the bottom one. Load up the nut. I'm sorry this is quite a long session, this one, but I want to get all this done. So I'm really keen to get started back up on the main build, getting these upper panels installed. Put that around there out of the way. But I've got to get all this done before I can do that, because again, you can see what I'm doing here. Imagine if these I know I keep saying it, I'm really sorry, but imagine if these panels were on here. it'd be a difficult challenge to get this installed. There are a lot of components required to be able to mount these motors. In the old days it was like, I think 4 bolts and the motor was installed, and away you go. But these new belt drive motors that Armortek have developed apparently are incredible. So we'll see. Can't wait to see how it operates. And hopefully, if I can get enough time today, we'll get the power on and we can actually see them working. That's the plan anyway. Cool, that's tight. Some go on nice and easy, some not so easy. We'll get there though. Of course, you can always fast forward all this, or I could just do it and not film it. But just with this particular exercise, I thought, because it's brand new type of system, I thought you guys might appreciate it, especially as some of you are out there following this build and building one of these, or even the King Tiger. I believe the similarities are there. That's it. Right, so 3 spacers on, nice and tight. Now the idea is that I'll be able to offer the motor into that without having to worry about getting into the back of the fixing. So let's go and get the first motor and do that. Okay, so I've installed this side just to see how tricky it was, and it was actually quite straightforward. And also I'm going to try and film this so you can actually see what we're doing without my big chunky head and bald head and fat hands and all the rest of it getting in the way. First things first, we have this motor shaft with a flat spot on it here. Then we have this pulley. Whoops. This little pulley. There's not a front or a back on it, so it's all the same. And obviously you've got 2 grub screws. I'm going to wind the grub screw in a little bit, the one that's going to go against the motor, just to give that a bit of a flat spot, or a stop if you like. Then we can tighten that up, just hold that in place. As tight as possible. Again, it hasn't asked us to put any thread locker on this, so I'm going to run with that. Then we've got, so obviously now this is the main power lead, so that's going to be presented towards the back of the actual tank itself. And I'm going to get the belt and just try and make sure that's on. So make sure it's locked in there, and then we've got to try and pull this, put a bit of tension on it. It's weird that. Just looking at the other side, the tensioner. I'll have a look in a minute. I think it says something about a 10mm deflection on the belt. Anyway, I digress. So that now needs to be pulled to the back. This is where you need a bit of strength. Try not to move the thing too much. I'll position that fixing through there. Is that actually on there? Needs a bit more. That's what I might do. Is put that through there, to the hole, and just try and use that to. That's it, that's in the hole of the bottom. So now hopefully I can try and line up that fixing there. That feels right. turns on that, keep the pressure on. That's got it. That's got it. That's that one. Keeping it quite loose still. Right, coming down the bottom here now. Yeah, it's all, the teeth are engaged. That's there. Excuse me, I'm just trying to get this. You know what, I know I've said it, but how would you be able to do this if you had the sides on? No idea. Well, I guess you could do it, but it would just be, it'd be hard work. Right now. That's it. Not tightening it up too much yet, just want to get it in. And the final one, which hopefully is not going to be too tricky. It was a bit of a nightmare that aside, really, but let's hope. There we go. Oh, that's going in lovely. Makes a nice change. Right, so I'm going to go around now and get these all tightened up. That's in. And my point earlier about how would you get in behind, I just don't know how, if you were to do it the other way round, how you physically get in and hold the fixings so you can secure the motor. So I think the way I've done it is the right way. Hopefully the way I've positioned the camera there shows you, or it's actually seen how we do this, or how you're supposed to do it according to the instructions. Now the next step is to get these pulleys, the main pulleys, get the taper lock set up, check that there's enough deflection on these belts, and see if we can get them just to, you know, even just using the sprocket wheel just to make sure that they're lined up. You can see they need to run true. So yeah, so the next thing to do now is to get in and sort these taper locks out and get these all tightened up front end. Okay, I know it seems a little bit bitty in today's session, but I think it's really important that I covered these steps off step by step. So I've done the other side on the belt drive here. Couldn't get a really good camera angle on that, so I'm hoping I can show you on here. A few things to just bear in mind. One, we need to work out the track tensioner here, and the manual says we need at least 10mm deflection, which that feels already about 10mm deflection, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And the other thing is that this belt, when it rides, needs to be in line. So obviously let's just start off by just getting this taper lock, using my little mallet, get that knocked into place. I'm looking down the line, just seeing how that looks like it's running in line. And the next thing I need to do is just make sure that that taper lock is perfectly flat and flush and true. So I'm going to now, using the smaller hex key, just start winding these in. Doing exactly the same both sides. 2 turns and then come back and do another 2 turns. And you will start feeling some resistance. Trying to keep the turns equal. Here's the resistance. I don't mean in Star Wars terms. I'm going to hold on to this sprocket while I just give that. And then use the sprocket to rotate it around to make your life easy. That's nice and tight. That's tight. That seems to be running nice and true. That's nice. Yeah. No horrible mechanical sounds or anything like that. Right, now, final thing to do is to get this track tensioner. I don't know if that was, I don't know, to me that should be on a spring, but it talks about 10mm deflection. Now if I push that belt down, I'm getting at least that. So I think for now, I'll tighten it up and see how we get on. That's one of these sort of jobs you can come back to, I guess. So I'm just going to, what am I going to do first? I'll tighten up the back one, the fixed position. Just use that. Is that the right tool? Yeah, just tighten that. And come and do the other one. I don't know, I just, some part of me thinks that possibly could have been on a spring, but what do I know? At least 10mm there, same as the other side. Let's see. And that's it. Now, what I'm going to go and do, and check my batteries. And if I can, I'm going to try and set up a bit of a test by putting some power into these motors and see how they perform. Right, so that's both 12-volt batteries fully charged, and now is the time we're going to do a bit of a bench test. So please don't get hung up on this at the moment, because I'm not doing the electronics in this session. That will be for much later on when we've got all the other parts to put in, the recoil and the sound card and everything else. This is just to perform a bench test on the motors, so that if these work, fingers crossed these work, and I promise you I haven't tested them yet, because I want that kind of, you know, that sort of moment of excitement to be real. And if it works out badly, then I'll be the moment of tears and sadness. But look, I have a huge amount of confidence in Armortek, and they do their own testing on this kit as well, so I'm really happy. So this is my own version of a bench test. Instead of it being on my bench, it's actually installed onto the tank. And actually I think that's the best way to do it, because that way we can see if there's any alignment issues with the pulleys and all the rest of it. So two 12-volt batteries connected in series with a lead. Armortek provides you this blue lead here. You connect the negative from one battery to the positive to the other battery, and that will give you 24 volts. And I'll just demonstrate that. So we've got, put that on there, try and hold that in place, and I can see that I've got 26 volts. If you do this exercise and you're getting less than 26 volts, your batteries do need to be charged. So take them off and charge them. But for testing, I think it's absolutely fine. But if you're going to be running this, make sure you've got a full charge in both batteries. Right, so that's that. Now we've got the main power supply lead, which is a plug and play. It all just unplugs and plugs in, and it's all very clearly labeled. You know, all here, connect to power supply. The wiring diagram that you get and the instructions are very clear. But again, I will go over all of this when we come to do the electronics closer to the end of the build. I've got my power supply unit here, the main power supply unit here with a relay and an on and off switch there. And I've got a 30 amp supply on the left hand side, which I've connected to the motor on the left hand side. And I've got a 30 amp supply on the right hand side, which I've obviously connected to the motor on the right hand side. It's all a bit tight, but don't want to damage any cables. Anyway, so that's that. Everything else is plugged in. Now I just need to turn my radio on and see if it's bound to the receiver, which it should be, because I'm borrowing, just for the purposes of getting power into this, I'm borrowing the radio gear from the Series 1 Land Rover. And I have no idea what switch is going to control the belts just yet, but one of them will. And of course, because this is set up for the Series 1 Land Rover, but as I said, I just want to get power into this. So let's turn the radio set on first. Now we're going to turn on the power. The receiver's flashing. That was bound, perfect, so it's now bound. Now the moment of truth. Now there'll be no noise or anything because there's no sound card plugged in. Let's just make sure there's nothing going to catch itself in those belt drives. And now I've got to try and work out. Oh, here we go. So left and right. Left and right works for the left-hand drive. So the left and right steering on the Series 1's working for the left-hand drive. That's good. Let's just see if we can get nice acceleration. Lovely. Now, what's going to control? Oh, here we go. The actual sound card switch controls the right-hand side. I know it's all a bit messed up at the moment, but it's great. It's great because it's getting me power to it. Look at that. Well, let's get them both going. Hang on, let's make that. That's forward. Beautiful. Wow. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. That, I can't tell you how happy and relieved I am that they're working. Amazing. I'm going to play with it a bit. I'm going to do a bit more of that. That's just amazing. Beautiful. No horrible sounds. It's all running beautifully. Oh, I am so happy. Anyway, that is a big relief. So I'm now going to turn off the power supply to the tank and turn off the power supply to the radio kit. I'm going to unplug all of this. Now the power is disconnected. Take the motors back out of that. This is Armortek are brilliant. The way they label everything up, they really try and make the builder's life as easy as possible. Pretty much plug and play all of that. So now we've got that out. We can pop that up there. That's the power supply unit disconnected. So that's going to go back in its bag to protect that until the end of the build and when we need it. I'm going to disconnect the two motors from the receiver, keep all that together. Put that radio set over there out of the way. Now I'm going to disconnect my batteries. I just don't need to have these set up like this. I'm just going to put them back on the battery conditioner, and all these leads and all of that can go back in the bag until much later on in the build. Oh, I can't tell you the relief. The thought now that I can actually get on and continue building this amazing tank is a huge relief. Knowing that the motors are driving perfectly. It's all about just, when I come to do it, just setting it up on the radio and getting it all set up correctly. So that's all good. Just disconnect this. And as I said, if you want to know the batteries that I'm using, drop me a line or drop me a comment and I'll come back to you on that. But you know, Armortek do recommend various different batteries. I've used these type of batteries since I built my Tiger 1, and I found that I'll get really good performance out of them as long as you take care of them and condition them. You'll get a really good run time. I think the longest run time I've had on any one of my tanks is about, I think, probably an hour, and it was fine. It didn't on the big tanks, it didn't need charging. The Hetzer, different thing, only one battery, so you don't get as much run time. But anyway, that's that. I'm going to put these batteries back on its condition chargers, and I'll come back to camera. Right, well, I'm one happy bunny, I've got to be honest. I'm so pleased with how it's gone. I was looking forward to this, but with a huge amount of anxiety, because I hadn't actually built one of these before. When I say built on, I'm talking about the new drive system from Armortek. And I know we should bench test it. I know we should do that, and I normally do that. But I felt with this, I wanted to get the motors installed. And as I said before, I've got a huge degree of confidence with Armortek and the testing that they do before they send these kits out. But I wanted to get the motors installed, then align them, and then run the motors, because that's when you're going to know if there's any real issues. And thankfully, nothing. And that's another credit to Armortek for the way they think these things through and make our life so easy. So if you are building one of these and you're at this stage and you've decided to go for the option packs, I really hope that has helped you. So now we're ready. I think I'm ready to move forward with the build, and I'm sorry it feels like the whole build kind of came to a halt while we were doing all this, but it's a really key part. And as I said before, you know, it's essential, in my eyes, it's essential to get all this done while you got full access to it, because I just think it's going to be really challenging. But we are now at the stage where we can continue building up the upper hull. And look at these two panels. I've got them out, unpacked them. Absolutely stunning. Now I will obviously clean this up before I start putting any accessories on, because there's quite a few accessories that will go on there. I mean, I think there's like the radio container, the radio aerial, if you like, container, and the track holders and all that kind of stuff all need to go on this. But let's just put it on. Let's try test fit it onto the side just to get a feel, a sense of it. That's why we keep everything loose, so that we can move things around. Look at that. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. It's big and it's beautiful. It's the iconic shape of the Jagdpanther. I'm just buzzing, absolutely buzzing. I can't wait to get stuck into this bit. And we can also then move on and finish off other parts that we haven't been able to, like putting the equipment bins onto the back. Because if you put these on too soon, you're not going to be able to get access to tighten up these fixings once everything's in place. So once all the things are in place and you're happy with it and it's all aligned and you can tighten it all up, then the equipment bins go on. And then after that, I haven't really made my mind up, because I am considering looking at jumping ahead again with putting the recoil system in on the gun, because again, I'm just thinking that the more detail I put on the back of this, the rear deck, the harder it's going to get. It's going to be for me to get access to the front of the tank to do a lot of work on the gun and the mantlet and all that. So jury's out on that, and I'll make a decision nearer the time. So that's it for today. I really hope you've enjoyed today's session. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. I just love you guys, the interaction I have with you guys, and I really hope that continues. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, because we've still got a long journey on this amazing build, this amazing Jagdpanther G2 from Armortek. And I'll sign off now by saying I am Tony. I love building these kits. I look forward to seeing you in my next build session. See you soon.